Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our daily word this morning. It is Thursday, July 7th. Glad you could join me for our time together. As you already know, probably I'm at the lake at my place here. It's a beautiful morning outside to be sitting outside. It's going to get a little warm today, but right now it is gorgeous. It is a nice little breeze blowing. So I'm glad you could join me for our time together as we continue our conversation through our daily word. So, in searching for scripture and some resources, I came across this Titus text. I don't think I've ever shared anything from Titus. Now, if you read the whole chapter, some of it, is a bit disturbing. It talks about things that I would disagree with the writer of this book about, but that's beside the point. These couple of verses um, are interesting when we think about perspective and how we're living our lives. And so, Titus chapter 2, verses 7 through 8 says this: In everything, set them an example by doing what is good. In your teaching, show integrity, seriousness, and soundness of speech that cannot be condemned, so that those who oppose you may be ashamed because they have nothing bad to say about us. So, when we think about how we're doing as human beings, as disciples, and I think about this in my life, I tend to either think about it in my very best moments, when I'm doing the very best that I can do, or I evaluate that at my worst moments. When I failed, when I haven't followed through, when I haven't preached well, or said the right things, or whatever it is. We sometimes evaluate ourselves and how we're doing at our best moments or at our worst moments. But I think it's important for us to remember that big moments in life, good and bad, don't happen in a vacuum. Um, the way we act in all the moments of our life, the big moments, I think are a direct reflection of how we live and talk and act and reflect and respond every single day. It's interesting to me um, when people are caught on a hot mic, you know, um, broadcasters, politicians, even pastors for that matter. When we're caught on a hot mic and we're saying something that we shouldn't say. Sportscasters have said rather bigoted racist things when they didn't know they had a hot mic and have lost their jobs. Politicians have said things on a hot mic and then have gotten in hot water. And it's interesting to me that whenever someone gets caught in a hot mic moment, they apologize and then they say, "That's not who I am. That was a one-time thing. That's not who I am." And the fact of the matter is that is indeed most likely who they are, because we don't say things in a vacuum. Our daily living tells us, shows us how we live. And the big moments, when they come out, when we're confronted with something, when we're tempted to be angry, we're tempted to say the wrong or thing, um, our small moments, our day-to-day living, then comes out of us in the big moments. So Titus says the small decisions that we make, the way we treat others, the way we treat strangers, the way we respond to our friends and our spouse and our neighbors, the way we move and live on a consistent basis, it's all vitally important. And most of the examples that we set with our behavior um, is comes out of us in those big moments. And we really shouldn't wait. I guess this is the key for all of this. We really shouldn't wait for the big moment to suddenly show who we are. We have to show it in the small moments, in the day to day moments, those daily decisions, those actions of each moment. Those things reveal where we placed our hope, and those things reveal who we serve. So we think about that and what Titus has to say to us. I think about this for my grandkids, how I want to be an example for them, for the four of them, soon to be five. In everything, set them an example by doing what is good. In your teaching, show integrity, seriousness, and soundness of speech that cannot be condemned, so that those who oppose you may be ashamed because they have nothing bad to say about us. I think about that with my grandkids, but I also think about that with folks here who I interact with at the campground, folks in my daily life, people at restaurants, people at therapy, people at gas stations, all kinds of places. It's those little moments in life, those little things that we do that remind us that it's in those and how we act and how the words that we say are a direct reflection of who we are, what's deep inside of us, and who we serve. Are we really disciples? How are we really doing? Now, this isn't a judgment thing. Someone said to me the other day, Jim, when you preach, why are you always preaching directly to me? And I don't know if they meant on Sunday morning or if they meant on a Wednesday, on a daily kind of basis. I said, I don't do that. I don't preach a sermon and think, this sermon, I'm going to look at Joe right in the eye. I'm going to talk to him because he really needs to hear this, or Sally really needs to hear this. I don't do any of that. What I think happens to us when we hear Scripture, it helps us. And the point of our daily word in all of these months, today's number 560. In all of these moments, in all these days, all this time together, it's been my hope that we would find a nugget, we get a glimpse of who God is, but also who we are, and how Scripture then speaks to us, and that how our words are important, how our actions are important, how our social media thing is important. This is number 560. They're archived forever and a day. We can go back and look at them. You can go back and look at Sunday morning worship forever and a day. You can go back to my Facebook stuff, to whenever it is that I signed on for the very first time. It's all there, right? But I think also, our actions, our words are etched in the minds of people we've interacted with. And if we haven't done a good job, it doesn't mean we failed. What it means is that we need to continue to work on ourselves and continue to have those small moments matter. And that's, I think, maybe I'm wrong, but I think maybe we've gotten too caught up in living for the big moment and the big splash and the idea of being great. And we've forgotten the small, day-to-day, everyday language moments, action moments, interaction moments. And I think that's really what Titus calls us to in this text. And so, in thinking about that, I know, personally, I need to keep working on that. I need to keep checking my words, checking my actions, doing what's right, and then using that to grow. So when the big moments come, when we're confronted with the big moments, and we all are, we then respond because of who we are and who we serve. And I think that makes a difference in our world. And I think would make the world a better place if we all just looked at ourselves in that kind of way. So, I hope that's a good word for all of us today. Hope we hear it with the intent that it's meant, not preaching directly at somebody. Mostly preachers preach to themselves, and so that's an important thing. So, thanks for joining me. Hope you have enjoyed the beauty of today. We got some great rain, and it's refreshed the earth and refreshed the air. You can tell. So know of God's love that surrounds you. Know of my love for you, and I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock.